Greetings! Oh, what is up, and everyone? Welcome to the channel. The sun is shining and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now in lockdown with a live 1 vs 1 game fresh from the Company of Heroes 2 ladder featuring spawning in the north. It is going to be the Feuersturm over Command West pieces of some Japanese. And spawning in the south, playing as the United Kingdom forces, it's going to be Lux Inkaruna. So definitely cast a game from Inkaruna before. Keen to see some UKF. They are definitely the least played allied faction, and it's fair to say that they just have some sort of, like, I don't know how you want to, like, they just have some huge flaws in the faction design which necessitate you to play a certain way, and that does make them somewhat predictable and does make them somewhat exploitable, which I think is why we see them a lot less than the other two allied forces. But they do have some really good strengths, and they can do things that Soviets and American forces can't do. And I'm always glad to see them for the variety and just to see the and hear the cool accents and stuff. They are, despite being probably the least used allied faction, I still think they have the most character. And yes, I appreciate I might be slightly biased in that regard. Rahaha, 12's moustache. But I just honestly, I just think that because they've got such cool voice acting and stuff, they do just have a lot of character. Yeah, looks like I don't know what I'm gonna call this guy. I'm just gonna call him Kanji for a change, because that's what I always call the Japanese character names. And yeah, so we've got Feuersturm going to be the choice here. So one of the lesser spotted commanders. Let's just cover a quick overview here. We've got the Flamhetzer, which I hope we're gonna see. We've got the assault package, which Storm Pioneers can take, and Volks Grenadiers can take MP40s. Okay, that's pretty cool. We've got the incendiary munitions. Is that just a call-in? Oh no, that's a Lig passive. Oh my god, this guy gets a passive that buffs the Lig. That is unlikely to be value, but we'll see. The Opal Blitz truck, which is the sort of transport reinforcement mobile one. Okay, yeah, so that's really cool. That is a tactical option that is new for OKW, so that is somewhat transformational. That's pretty cool. And of course you get the rocket barrage for 200 munitions. Okay. The map, of course, here is going to be Crossroads, and looks like we've got fairly typical openers here. We've got Volks Grenadiers for Kanji, and Inkaruna is going to be bringing Vickers to bolster his Tommies. And whilst these players move on out onto the map, I'll just talk about some stuff for a while, because the opening minutes of Company of Heroes 2 games do tend to be relatively straightforward, low-intensity stuff. Yeah, what's been going on? Well, I mean, obviously, not a lot. I'm still under lockdown, as I imagine a lot of you out there are as well, and you know what? I am actually glad to be under lockdown. It's the right thing for the world. It's the right thing to be doing. So I'm not exactly complaining, but you know, we're like 3-4 weeks in now, and the cabin fever is starting to set in a little bit. Now, I apologise I haven't been streaming as much as I had intended, because even despite the lockdown, I have been quite busy. Work's been kicking up. There's a lot of stuff that I've been needing to arrange. We're in this weird place right now where my legal obligations regarding my work have not changed, but my ability to meet those obligations has substantially. So we're kind of in an interesting place where I kind of could, strictly speaking, be sent to jail for things that I literally can't do. So I'm spending a lot of my time proving and creating, like, you know, making sure that I have evidence that I could not do these things that I'm expected to do for my work. Because one day, I mean, the government in this country is just, that one day they will try to send me to jail for this or something. They'll come after me for something, so I have to make sure that I've covered myself, I suppose. Anyway, what else has been going on? Oh, yeah, I've been playing so much Animal Crossing. My god. So I got that game as a complete punt because I had a game voucher that was going to expire soon, a Nintendo game voucher. So I had a quick look to see if there are any games that I would want coming up in the next month or so. There were none, so I was like, okay, it looks like we're going to have to redeem this on Animal Crossing. And to begin with, I was just so skeptical. I played it for like 10 or 15 minutes a day, and it was just boring as hell, and I was like, okay, this has got a super formulaic crafting system, and it is just super saccharine, overly stylized, animalistic rubbish, which, to be honest, I have had my share of in previous Animal Crossing games. Because, yeah, I did actually play, like, Animal Crossing Wild World, like, way back in the day on the Nintendo DS. Used to play that one a lot, actually. But that's because I was at uni and loads of my friends had it and my family had it, and it was just kind of a fun thing to do. I would never hold it up as being, like, one of, strictly speaking, the best, you know, best games ever created. But, you know, I definitely got some mileage out of it, and it was fun. And I kind of just wrote this one off as more of the same. couldn't have been more wrong, actually, I don't think. The game opens up and expands so massively in ways that I found very surprising. The pacing is actually masterful. As long as you're prepared to spend 10 or 15 minutes a day on that game, it is like one of the best books I've ever read. And we're getting to the stage now where there's just nuances and finesse and sort of expression within that game that I don't think I've ever experienced in video gaming before, ever. And I have to say, maybe it's just because I'm in lockdown, but Animal Crossing is actually, like, really useful because it's contributing. Oh, nice cut off. It's contributing to my daily routine, and routine is the key. Routine is the core. Humans are beings of routine. If you take away the routine, people go insane, and lockdown is having a really negative effect on the routine in my life. And Animal Crossing has come to the rescue in a substantial way to just provide things that I do on a daily basis at a given time. Now you might think, oh, Magpie, but you work and things. Surely that does it. Well, I'm self-employed, so I really can pick and choose when I do my work. And now that lockdown has sort of come down, that routine had been significantly disrupted. But like I say, Animal Crossing has been really good. I reckon it's actually been pretty good for, and I'm sure someone out there is going to like criticize me for jumping on the bandwagon, but I reckon Animal Crossing is actually being really beneficial for my mental health right now, because I do live alone. I live in my own home. Before the lockdown, I did not share my house with anyone, and I still don't. So even though I've got, friends, girlfriend, family, none of them actually live in the same house as me, which means for 4 weeks I've been without human contact, which is a lot. Now here and there I've been out to help clients and help and see my family for an hour or two here and there, and visit my girlfriend and things like that, but in responsible lockdown social distancing ways for very limited periods. So I don't really count that as like human contact as we're used to sort of thinking of it in an outside lockdown sense. So yeah, Animal Crossing has been like super awesome. It has really, really, really helped, I don't know, me, I guess. So quite a lot of stuff has happened now, so we could probably turn our attention to this game. Looks like we've got an AEC build coming down here for Inkaruna, and he's going to be needing it as well. Kanji here has been on the front foot, making some good progress, accessing the cutoff point here. Now the scoreline doesn't reflect that though, so clearly Inkaruna has been keeping a good presence on the victory points on the map. Let's have a look here. What do we got here? An assault officer. Where are you getting this assault officer from, sir? You have not picked a commander. Is this just like a new thing that Brits have access to? Yeah, and it requires no air landing officer. Oh, wow. So they've basically added the air landing field officer. That's a great tooltip, by the way. They've added the air landing field officer as a buildable dude from the UKF base. Wow. Well, I live and learn. That seems sweet, because one of my favourite things about this particular commander, the Vanguard Operations Regiment, is the access to the forward logistics glider from which you can deploy the air landing field officer. And I really like that unit because he's just a good offensive infantry unit who can spearhead an assault whilst buffing infantry nearby. And as a StarCraft 2 Terran player, any infantry ability which has a stim button, I'm like, that's for me. So this is cool then. So you can just get this guy irrespective of your commander tech choice now. That is sweet. I really like that. So from the Overcommand West point of view, we've got a pretty nicely balanced army coming up here. Some of the Feuersturm advantages being brought to bear already. The Opel Blitz truck is out. MP40s are cutting down the assault officer. Brutality. Nice work. Those MP40s demonstrating their deadly nature at close range there. And we've got the Blitz truck. We've got the Kettenwerfer here as a measure of anti-armor, and that is to some extent policing the AEC. We saw a couple of, or at least one hit onto the AEC earlier on, and it looks like we might have another one here as the Kettenwerfer going to catch the AEC and arc again. Looks like the AEC is going to use this building as a line of sight blocker to dive upon the Panzer II, and he should. Oh, but now the turret has traversed. Oh, wow, he might lose the AEC here. Oh, he's not going to get out of the arc in time. He uses the smoke. So he manages to get out of there. Does get the kill on the Panzer II, but that's actually just abandoned. So the OKW player can totes recrew and repair. But wiping the veterancy off that unit is nice, and it will take a while to recrew and repair. Oh, man, if he can just get something over here to just lob, even a gammon bomb or something would probably take that out. The air landing field officer has been rebought, so that is an option. He's actually headed out to this area of the map. He might be able to... Oh, no! The MP40s finish on these Volksgrenadiers right when the air landing officer was possibly going to run by. He's going to lose it again! These MP40s are horrendous, sir! You must respect the German SMGs here. A load of Tommies are going to come out here, but they're just feeding straight into close range. This is definitely enough Tommies to beat these Volksgrenadiers, but you are feeding extra value by coming into this range. So, okay, well, I managed to get out of the way of the frag grenade there. But Inkaruna here, having a tough time, it's safe to say, suffering a couple of unit losses. This Panzer II still exposed, though, so I'm hoping... I mean, these infantry don't actually have anything they can do about that. There's no artillery flares, and now the Storm Pioneers are moving into position. Flammenwerfer is on them, and now... he's actually going to grab the Panzer II. Oh, I like that, actually. Okay, of course, that's the other way you can deny this unit. So, okay, the Kettenwerfer is brought to bear. The Panzer II is destroyed by Axis hands in a sort of bizarre twist of events, but such is Company of Heroes 2, and we live to see these awesome sort of snowflake games unfold. And, yeah, Inkaruna here, though, despite, I feel like, being on the back foot substantially as far as the actual action goes, still able to maintain a ticket lead right now. Vickers gun determinedly holding in over here. That's going to maintain control over the western fuel. Cutoff gets taken, though, so double fuel income is halted for now. Kanji just making gains on the south side of the map, as we've seen pretty much for large swathes of the first 10 minutes of this game. And, I mean, look at the top left, look at the top right. Inkaruna's roster is taxed here. It is under duress. I like the roster from Kanji a bit better, although I am skeptical about getting the MP40s on the 4th Volksgrenadier squad. I mean, they are clearly powerful, but in my experience, 5-man squads with SMGs are more valuable early on, and then their utility tends to tail off, and they find it much harder to secure fights. As the size of both armies increase and both armies have access to more machine guns and more covering units, it's just harder to get value out of the short-range SMG-type infantry. So I think 2 is fine. 2 is actually really good, and we've seen them be strong this game, but I think having 3, you might have issues with your core infantry scaling in the later game. But, you know, Kanji, the better player than I for sure. So we're going to see how these okay, he's gone up to 4, so... I mean, he just really likes these MP40s. And, you know, Crossroads is a small map, and with 4 of them, possibly he can just make it work. We're going to have to see here. AEC gets tagged by a Faust, and that will break the engine, but it's obviously in no danger of getting taken out here. Where's the Kettenwerfer in all this? Right back in the Axis base. The Opel Blitz cargo truck is going to be using the distribute medical supplies right now, so that is turbo useful, actually. Going to be basically operating as a medical bunker, but for OKW, so that's pretty cool. Axis Boot's going to be grabbing fuel in the west. British forces have reconnected fuel in the east, so these two players going to be dividing up the resources on the map fairly evenly moving forwards. Schwerpanzer HQ gets deployed, and Panzer authorization comes down pretty rapidly here. So Kanji here going to be able to take some picks out of the big units as soon as he has the fuel to be able to afford that. But the fuel income right now is pretty decent, so give him a couple of minutes and we could have a Panzer IV, or it may opt to save for something a little more menacing. But this looks like a good table for a Panzer IV. Actually, you know what, I say that. The AEC plus the quarter-pounder AT gun coming in here, that can take out a Panzer IV pretty quick. So, I mean, a Panzer IV can definitely flourish against these units, but it's not ideal circumstances. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the fuel spending is going to be. Could be a Flammhetzer. It's probably not going to be a Flammhetzer. I wish it would be a Flammhetzer, though. Second Kettenwerfer going to be coming in here for Kanji. Doesn't want to be caught out by additional armoured choices here for our UKF player, who... Let's see now. So we've got Tactical Support Regiment... we've got the Mobile Assault Regiment. Oh my god, this is probably a really good map for land mattresses, isn't it? Because it's so small, you can just mattress into their base, like, relatively easily. And that seems like it would be horrendous. Kettenwerfer here is going to get decrewed, and there's a Vickers gun set up just to the south of this fight. So the Axis forces were getting the upper hand, but that Vickers gun is going to answer that. And I would actually like to see an MG34 added into the roster here for Kanji. Just because this army actually doesn't really have very much, like, multi-dimensional, like, it's not a very, what am I trying to say? There's a word here. It's not very well balanced. You basically got loads of pushing infantry and an anti-tank gun, and there's not a lot of sort of different utility there. It's not a very well varied army. An MG34 would definitely help these Volksgrenadiers be effective. Anyway, they're going to get up nice and close onto these Tommies. They spot the quarter pounder gun, so that's useful information to know that your opponent has that unit. AEC here is just going to help police these units back, and there are enough Lee Enfield rifles around the place, not to mention the Sten guns. So I imagine these Volks Grenadiers are going to have to fall back here in a second. Wow, Inkaruna just loves trying to close up and kill these Volks Grenadiers at close range. And I mean, it works this time. The air landing field officer, or the assault field officer, spearheading that particular charge, but we've seen him be punished for this before, so he has to be careful of that. I mean, it just seems weird to me that you know your opponent's units are only really very good at close range, and yet he seems to be consistently closing into those ranges. He's going to lose more Tommies. What? All you have to do is not take on the Volks Grenadiers at point-blank range, and their DPS is way less spiky, much easier to manage and fall back your units at the appropriate timing, as long as you're just not at point-blank range. Stop closing in. Look, my God, we've fed them up to 4 stars of veterancy, and the Axis boots are going to take the cutoff. We crack the tack. You can see no action in the north side of the map, plenty-o action in the south side of the map. Usually that's a really damning story for the UKF, but somehow he's still just increasing this ticket lead. He's, near as makes no difference, 100 tickets lead here. So he actually has a little cushion of time where he can be disrupted in this way. It's going to be a Flamhetzer, by the way. Woyoi, nice. And the Flamhetzer is going to be met by a rather splendid Cromwell. So those are going to be the sort of fuel choices of the early mid-game. And, I mean, obviously that lines up pretty well for the allied player. The Flamhetzer, of course, utterly devastating against infantry, but against a Rakettenwerfer, a quarter pounder, an AEC, and a Cromwell, I mean, this is going to be a difficult life for a Flamhetzer to make a living, or a difficult world for a Flamhetzer to make a living in. And yeah, I mean, the Cromwell comes out at nearly the exact same timing. I imagine we'll see the tank commander come down like instantaneously, because that's just a good upgrade. The Hetzer can have an MG42. Oh, sorry, MG34 pintle mount. There you go. But Kanji here needs to... He's lost some Volks somewhere. I did miss that, sorry. I don't know whether... I guess they just died here. That looks like a lot of dead Volks there. So yeah, Flamhetzer versus Cromwell. And I don't know, man. The early stages of this mid-game look pretty bad for the OKW player. Look at the top left. Look at the top right. Axis forces find themselves outgunned and outmatched, if you ask me. This army in the top right definitely apt to answer these units in the top left. And, I mean, what do you do as Kanji? Well, I mean, he's doing the best thing he can, which is keeping the pressure on. I mean, Kanji is committed to playing an aggressive style here. And that game plan is definitely still functioning. At least for now. I mean... Okay, yeah, even the Flamhetzer finds the quarter pounder, so that's actually really nice. That should be burned out in, like, yeah, that's going to die. So, okay, alright, and like these MP40 Volks are surprising me insofar as they are still consistently finding good value, and we're deep into the mid-game now. Well, I mean deep into. We're 18 minutes into the game. I expected the utility of these Volks to have tailed off by now, but they're still looking pretty decent. And, I mean, the pressure is right on the UKF player here. But throughout all of this, I mean, although 2/3 of the map are in Axis hands, 2/3 of the victory points are in Allied hands. And so this score lead is no closer to closing. So for all the Axis gains here, it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, Inkaruna is not significantly on the clock here. Time is a luxury that the British forces have. And they're going to be making use of that. So it looks like Obersoldaten going to be the next choice out of the gates. And that, I mean, that's a unit that dovetails really nicely with the assault-oriented Volks Grenadiers. So, you know, Obersoldaten traditionally really good at mid and long range, really good at killing infantry as long as they have a screen of more expendable units in front of them, less valuable units to be taking the brunt of the enemy's bullets. So yeah, OKW's going to... Sorry, Obersoldaten going to be coming out. The MG34 upgrade comes down and a prompt mana, because that thing is an absolute Brit Slayer. So yeah, okay, I mean, I guess I like the choice of the Obersoldaten. They are also... I mean, they're a unit that really wants to be alive for a long time as well. So Kanji here perhaps acknowledging that a game that he wins from this position is a game that goes on at least for another 20 minutes. And I mean, or 25 minutes, probably 30 minutes. So Obersoldaten at this time, they have a real chance to hit 4 or 5 star veterancy if the game is favourable for them from this position. So I like the investment. it was a good window to get it. He loses a Kettenwerfer though. Flamhetzer comes through. That's going to cover the retreat on these Volksgrenadiers. Yeah, he can afford to lose the Kettenwerfer in a way, but he cannot afford to lose the Volksgrenadiers. And in fact, I mean, he can afford to lose the Kettenwerfer as long as he doesn't actually donate it to his opponent. That would be bad. So hopefully he can actually re-grab this, but there is a Kettenwerfer already sieging this down. Looks like it's actually going to start taking shots at the Flamhetzer. Cromwell's going to come in here as well, and that ought to push back the Flamhetzer for now. Not much the plucky flamethrower tank can do against such reckless Cromwelling. That's a Panther on the queue. Wow, where did he... Okay. Alright, that is sick. Okay, the Panther changes the dynamic of this game substantially. Yikes, so do Bren guns now appearing on the Tommies. But the Panther changes the dynamics of this game substantially. Suddenly the Kingmaker on the field is an Axis unit, and the Panther is a medium, or a medium-heavy, depending on how you want to look at it, tank that can police all of the British armour and contribute meaningfully against the infantry. So I feel like the Panther is sort of the tank or the armoured version of the Obersoldaten, insofar as it's a unit that you just want to be profitably chipping into battles for a long time, vetting up, with a unit of more with a screen of more expendable units, keeping it out of significant danger. And if it is allowed to survive for 20 plus minutes in this game, it is likely to be one of the deciding factors in this game. But it is far from invulnerable, and the UKF player has a lot of anti-tank tools at their disposal, so this is far from risk-free. This Panther, I mean, it all comes down to the micro. With Panthers, it almost always all comes down to the micro and keeping them out of trouble. Vickers in a nice window pins down a ton of Volks who get crushed, I think. That was a little bit of crush there on a couple of those Volks. And yeah, they're going to get hosed down. Panther going to come in here and immediately makes his presence felt, scoring a nice penetrating hit through the front of the Cromwell. The British armour, now on notice, has to respect the Panther as another shell comes hurling in, smashing the front armour of this Cromwell. Whoa, 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 this Cromwell. Ooh, okay, yeah. Where is the rest of the AT resources? Okay, so there's a Kettenwerfer and a quarter pounder in position, ready to check the advance of that Panther, but yep, this is what I mean. Immediately, battles in which this Panther are involved look significantly different, and the British armour no longer able to just do what it wants and muscle around the Axis infantry. This enables the Flamhetzer to take middle VP. Storm Pioneer's going to be there to repair that. 3-star Storm Pioneers, of course, they do repair pretty quick. Is it 2 stars or 3 stars they get the repair rate upgrade? It's 3 stars, okay, yeah. Yeah, of course, 2 stars is like the fatty DPS increase where they suddenly become like really nasty. Yeah. And now, I mean, this aggressive strategy here from Kanji is really starting to come through. The Flamhets are going to be chasing a lot of allied infantry out of here. The anti-tank pieces from Inkaruna are desperately trying to find it. They get one good hit, but I mean, it's not enough to threaten the Flamhetzer, and that one's going to sneak away. Storm Pioneer is going to come on in here, and you know, this is turbo significant. This is a big cut-off to be grabbing, cutting off munitions, a fuel point, and a regular point. So this represents significant material losses for Inkaruna, who for all his scoreline advantage and for all the army size and composition advantage that Inkaruna has enjoyed for, I would say, pretty much most of the first 20 minutes of this game. It really feels like Kanji has kind of turned the corner here. These aggressive pokes into the south of the map are looking less desperate and much more confident now. And we've got another Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper coming out onto the field here, so we will have a battle group at HQ constructing here, and I mean, is this with a view to a sort of KT way down the line, or are we just grabbing this for utility, or is there a unit? I mean, there's an outside chance we might see a Lig here to make use of the incendiary munitions on the Lig. I don't know. I wasn't expecting him to complete the tech tree, if I'm honest, so I am curious to see where this is going to go. And sorry, my phone just beeping at me, but it is nothing super significant. Work does not need me. Ah! I missed a squad wipe on some Volks. Well, I mean, that's how you lose the game as the Axis player right here. You're pushed for resources quite heavily, and you're dealing with a British army that is quite a lot larger than yours, and you just can't afford to be losing core infantry at this moment. You need the core infantry to be taking points and just keeping your army functioning. So yeah, if Kanji hemorrhages many more squads than this, then that could be a way that this game ends a little bit earlier than I thought it might. So, okay, Flamhetzer and the Panther here doing some work. AEC going to come on in. Cromwell comes on in, and this looks like a pretty committed fight from both players. Anti-tank resources taking attack ground round shots through the line of sight blocker here. The Panther just chipping in damage at range, and I mean, the Axis forces are forced back here, so that was quite a nice push from Inkaruna, who will secure the middle of the map, who is securing fuel down here. Flamhetzer looks like it just wants to have a cheeky poke down here and police that. This is somewhat risky. A lot of anti-tank resources here, going to be able to bring themselves to bear. Dong dong, there we go. And the AEC chipping in as well. Whoa, engine damage. Was that an aimed shot from the AEC? Oh, and that will be the end of the Flamhetzer. Yeah, a little bit too risky there, and the Flamhets are probably the unit you are most okay with losing out of this entire roster here for Kanji, and so that's okay. I mean, losing any of these other units would have been really bad. Like losing another Volk squad, losing the Obersoldaten, that's terrible. Losing the Storm Pioneers likewise, you know, the Panther and so forth. So, okay, but you still don't want to lose the Flamhetzer. Volks Grenadier is going to immediately scavenge that, so that's nice. But yeah, losing that Flamhetzer, a bitter pill to swallow, and also, I mean, it's a rare day I get to cast a Flamhetzer, so on a personal note, I'm a bit sad to see that one die, but there we go. And these Volk Grenadiers just coming in, they're going to get a Faust here. Well, actually, they get a Faust, and the Panther is actually chipping shots in, so this is now a stricken Cromwell in a pretty bad position. Panther is going to get a little bit greedy, comes forward, gets it'll maybe get one more attack round shot. He's going to push through. Wow, that was risky. We're going to push through to try and get the Cromwell. He gets the Cromwell. Now he has to get out with the Panther, because pushing through, that was into 2 AT guns and an AEC with supporting infantry. Now the engine gets stunned. Oh, God. Are we trading a Panther for a Cromwell? It looks increasingly like it, as the Quarter Pounder and the Kettenwerfer, yep, take the KO blow on that Panther. I really like Kanji's thinking moving into that. I do actually think it was pretty sweet. The setup was nice, but I think for me the point of overextension was when he decided to crush through, or when they decided to crush through the line of sight blocker here. And now the Panther is destroyed, and that is a crushing blow for this Axis army. That is going to be absolutely brutal. Now, Inkaruna, despite not really ever meaningfully getting British boots into the north of the map, has managed to capture the 3 victory points once again. So the door now closing pretty rapidly on Kanji, whose army is tiny and pretty beaten up. Pardon me. Now, 200 fuel in the bank is a ray of hope in a bleak world for this Axis player. I don't know where that fuel's going to go. Battle Group at HQ is down, so there's actually a world where we save for a Tiger from here. And I suppose actually a KT does give Kanji a second bite at this apple. So you have to imagine KT is the plan from here. Oh god, Bren guns in heavy cover. Nice grenade comes down there. That is a concentration of British forces. There's going to be another grenade coming down off of these Volks Grenadiers. Looks like Inkaruna on it. He'll be well advised to fall those units back, and he does so. Okay, finally stops the bleed here, does Kanji. And to be honest, in a game in which we've seen numerous squads of core infantry wiped, the Flamhetzer went down, a Panther went down, and I think it's safe to say that Panther, I mean, it traded out for a Cromwell, and it was a good, you know, it gave a good account of itself, but I don't think it paid for itself. That's sort of, I don't think it was a net positive Panther, is what I'm saying. So, in a world where these things have all happened, and in a world where he's behind on the scoreline and just has felt consistently behind in army composition, these aggressive tactics are actually still, like, finding value out on the map, which is insane for me. I mean, Kanji, I don't really understand who's making stuff happen with this tiny army. And is that a comet? Wow, we never see a comet. And actually, he's actually going to survive to get a KT. Like, there's just no way he's not going to get a KT in this game. So, I mean, a KT with this kind of support, that game is not over. Like, so, if I sound a little lost for words, it's because I'm sort of amazed that the game has looked this way, and yet Kanji still has a hope. It's not that Kanji hasn't been finding meaningful damage against Inkaruna. It's just that that damage has been, like, more about resource disruption and positional play and position on the map, and less about units and actual army wins. And usually, unless you actually can take a sweet army win or destroy some of your opponent's best units, then the game tends to look a lot worse than this. I mean, I suppose he did take out the Cromwell, but I mean, he traded it for the Panther, and the AEC's still alive. We actually have a Comet tank on the field. Wicked. I never get to cast this unit. I feel like this might almost be the first time I've cast a Comet. I really hope it doesn't just get spanked by a KT. Alright, so here it comes, the high velocity anti-tank cannon on that unit. Okay, yeah, apparently it's okay against infantry. You know, it's been so long since I cast a Comet, and I'm sure that the Comet has been substantially, or maybe not substantially, but has probably been tweaked by the community balance team, so I don't actually know what Comets are up to these days. Are they just an allied Panther? Are they significantly better than an allied Panther? What is their anti-infantry capability like? I don't know the answer to these questions right now, but we're going to keep an eye on it and hopefully get an idea. KT is on the field now, so some kind of pretty dark camo on that one. Nice to see the KT on the field, and now we've got a sort of late game where it's going to be KT with ragtag but functioning infantry support versus pretty decent UKF army with Comet. And that is actually a dynamic where it is not certain to say who's the victor, so this has actually somehow found its way into a really interesting and pretty sweet late game where the UKF player has a substantial, let's call it 150 odd, 140 ticket lead here. 140. So, okay, yep, KT immediately going to drive back these Tommies. They are quite low, but it's, yeah, there's just too many infantry models alive here for the KT to find a kill. Comet, I imagine, is going to respond. No, still stationary at the moment. Looks like he's just going to let the KT kind of have the areas of the map that Kanji wants to take with it for now. And I suppose that makes sense. You have to be pretty sure that you can take the KT before you mess with it. The teeth on that big cat, pretty intimidating. So, wow. Are we actually in a world where Inkaruna can take a core infantry choice or like just another infantry choice in a second? This is kind of crazy, actually. You know what, as well? For all of the positional play and for all the way the map has looked throughout this whole game, Kanji has actually had the lion's share of the fuel income this whole game. And when you take that into account, that goes some way to explaining how things have looked this way. Anyway, Inkaruna goes ahead and picks the Vanguard. No, is it? Yeah, Vanguard Operations Regiment Commander at this late point in the game. So this must be for the strafing support and possibly the Crocodile, but I hope it ain't for the Crocodile, man. He needs a Firefly here, like yesterday. The Comet is a sweet choice. It's really cool. I like the Comet, but I mean, it's locked behind Hammer Tech, and it ain't a Firefly. And I think that's why we hardly ever see them. Like, undoubtedly, I'd feel a lot better about Inkaruna's position in this game if that Comet was a Firefly, because the King Tiger really has to respect a Firefly. So, anyway. Have these oversold out and only got 1 star of veterancy and 3 kills. They've been alive for so long. Ugh. Alright, so Hammer Tech is done, which means that these boys have got gammon bombs, right? Yeah. Alright, so that's something that Kanji's going to have to look out for. KT here taking some anti-tank fire, but I mean its health pool is pretty vast, so a few penetrating hits later and it's just casually going to lumber backwards and will escape to fight another day. The light gun here on 2 stars of veterancy, that must mean it's been doing good. I mean, it's only got 2 kills. Whoa, these Volks Grenadiers are so dead. How did they even come to be here? I didn't even see that. Wow. I mean, you just can't be hemorrhaging core infantry, bro. That's how you lose this game for sure as the Axis player here. And now look, his army is so small. Inkaruna just being the rock against the river here. And that's the off-map barrage, of course. That's the 200 munitions spent there. So, got the quarter pounder. So, yeah, it's significant to knock the veterancy off that unit. It will be recrewed, but that's fine. That's okay. 100 tickets in it, insofar as the scoreline goes. I mean, I think it's fair to say Inkaruna's substantially ahead right now, but doesn't have all the advantages in this game. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's going for a Jagdpanzer. That is actually sick, because with a Jagdpanzer behind it, the King Tiger is so deadly. You basically really just, like, even a Comet tank will melt rapidly under the gaze of a King Tiger and a Jagdpanzer. And, you know, the King Tiger can even just be using all of its weaponry against infantry and just blasting anti-tank guns and, you know, whilst the Jagdpanzer deals with the Comet from a safe distance behind the KT. So, especially if this Jagdpanzer gets to 2 stars of veterancy, things are going to start being really... I think it's 2 stars of veterancy. Things are going to start being really nasty. Is it 2 stars of veterancy when the Jagdpanzer gets like expanded frontal vision? Or is it 3 stars? We're going to find out in a second. But I always remember that being like super significant. And of course it has the stealth predator camo, which is like turbo useful, of course. Alright, so here comes the Jagdi. So we get... no, not cautious movements. We get... armoured skirts. Improved optics. That's the one. Yeah. So that's the one where it becomes really difficult. I mean, obviously, veterancy 3, 4, and 5 also make it, like, exponentially more nasty to deal with. No, not the core infantry! How did that Volks Grenadier sneak away? Some substantially good dice rolling there from Kanji. Amazing. And the Comet's going to sneak away. He does scout the Jagdpanzer, so that's really important to know about. Firefly comes onto the queue, and that is the correct choice here for the British player. And we're going to have this really nicely intricate, nuanced, beautifully textured late game here. If we get to a place where we've got KT Jagdpanzer with motley support versus Comet Firefly AEC with great support, that is going to be a super interesting late game to watch unfold. So I really hope that we get there. 36 minutes into this game on Crossroad, and things look very, to be honest, they look pretty evenly matched. These incendiary shells off of the light gun are actually a lot more beefy than I thought. I mean, that is covering quite a large area. How much do they cost? 35 munitions! That is surprisingly usable. I'm sort of minded of the mortar half-track that Wehrmacht have access to, because the incendiary barrage on that unit is one which over the years I've gotten a lot of utility out of, and I like having it. So that incendiary shells on the light gun is sort of, does remind me of that. Comet here finds itself exposed against the Jagdpanzer. KT can rumble into town, but the Comet obviously able to outpace that one. Scurries away to safety for now. Going to be able to check the advance of these Volks. Wow, man, 5-star Volks with these MP40s, looking pretty nice. You've got to hand it to Kanji, making the Feuersturm Doctrine look not only viable but good here. Just over the course of this game. Okay, whoa, we got a kite with the Firefly. Why are we not kiting? He puts the tulips on the Firefly, but he needs to kite hard here. Oh no, the engine gets broken on the Comet, and now it's a Comet, an AEC, and a Firefly against the KT with the Jagdi on backup. This is the fight we wanted to see. Here comes the UKF air support. The tulip's going to launch on in. The AEC goes up in flames. The Comet on death's door. The Firefly going to be forced to scurry back here. And the Jagdpanzer are going to bravely poke its face through the smoke. That is risk. Gonna get donked by a Comet momentarily. Looks like the Kettenwerfer finds its way into the flank here. Is the Jagdpanzer gonna escape? Yes, it's got to escape, right? And now we've got Piats coming down onto some of the UKF infantry. Whoa! Whoa, the UKF air power is not done yet as another strafing run comes in, hitting both the KT and the Jagdpanzer. They are gonna scurry away with no critical damage. But the Firefly finding the lethal shot on that Jagdpanzer, and at the close of play, after that exchange, Inkaruna's position in this game becomes firmly cemented. Whoa, Firefly, what are we doing? Oh, he wants the KT because it's on one hit. He really wants the KT. He wants the game now. He can almost afford another Firefly. He gets it! He gets it. I'm pretty sure that was an attack ground round. It hit the rear sort of left track of the KT. That's a beautiful kill, and that will close the door on a really good game. Man! That was a great game to have caught. What a sick game. Wow. I feel like we saw Kanji play a masterful underdog game there and lose in the end as he should as they should have, really. But I mean, keeping us guessing right to the very end, and despite being the underdog throughout the game, just fighting so hard, making significant and constant inroads into the south of the map. And navigating their way to an end game or late game composition that was genuinely concerning for a British player who had only suffered relatively light attrition to their unit roster over the game. Inkaruna there putting together a pretty good showcase of how to be the anvil. What did I say earlier? How to be the rock against the river. That was a game where Inkaruna basically never held any substantial portion of the north of the map. and throughout pretty much the whole game, I believe, had the fuel deficit, did not have the majority of the fuel income. But despite that, taking relatively few unit wipes and allowing him to, over time, to build up this just super three-dimensional UKF roster consisting of great anti-tank resources with great support from like multifaceted infantry with really good equipment. And in the end, taking that final fight pretty convincingly, yeah. I was really worried when the KT pushed in with the Yagdi supporting it. I was worried, but Inkaruna also not choosing a commander until they knew that they needed the air support to make the difference, and it did. I reckon the air support did make the difference. It scored a lot of hits on the KT and the Jagdpanzer during that like crucial final engagement, and then when the Axis armor decided to retreat, it took like maybe 4 more hits, like or 2 more like salvos from the UKF air support, putting both the Yagdi and the KT into like stalkable, killable range for the Firefly, and recognizing that, Inkaruna pushing that Firefly out, picking up both the Yagdi with a lovely shot, and then the KT. And it's that killer instinct, man, because if you just take that last fight but allow the Axis armor to slink away, this game goes on for another 10 or 15 minutes probably. And although you're in a good position as the allied player there, it's not 100% to win. Like, that is a timeline where Kanji can still do stuff, and the game could still result in an Axis victory. But Inkaruna had the killer instinct to know, I'm going to be really aggressive with this Firefly at the crucial moment here. And even I was a little surprised. You might have heard it in my voice when he kept pushing with the Firefly, but you know, of course, Inkaruna knew if he could connect those shots, the game would just end right now. And although a Firefly is a fantastic unit and an expensive high-tech unit, it was actually an acceptable risk here. I mean, if he comes out here and he only picks off the Jagdpanzer and then loses the Firefly, well, you know, he's actually got 110 fuel, he's got a vastly superior army, he's probably going to take the field, he can rebuy a Firefly pretty soon. This is an acceptable risk. And the potential upside is obviously you kind of win the game on the spot if you get both of your opponent's armoured units. And the potential downside, I mean, if he'd have lost the Firefly and picked up neither of the Jagdpanzer or the KT, well, then things start looking really bad, and the game starts looking much closer to parity. But, I mean, the Jagdpanzer was basically free there. The real risk was in going for the KT. So this was just a masterfully judged push out by the Firefly to win the game. So, what a great game. We saw a Flammetzer, we saw a Comet tank, we saw a Firefly. All of these things I don't get to cast very often, so that's really fun. We learned some stuff about UKF. They can make the assault officer, like, that's just a cool thing that that's a bone that they've been thrown by the community balance team. That's exciting. And we saw Feuersturm Doctrine look pretty dope. Has to be said. MP40 Grenadiers, Flamethrower Storm Pioneers, the Flammetzer, all pulling their weight this game. So, what a great one to have cast. Fantastic stuff. Well, that'll be that. Thank you very much for watching. And this for now, Magpie842 signing out.